So I've always saw the pictures, the old Pensacola police pictures of the old jail, or basically the old headquarters, the office, right? On Alkanese. Was it Alkanese?
It was Alkanese, right?
Yeah. So I never understood how that would work with the jail. I thought that was just the jail, and then there was another building that actually had the office. I didn't know it was all combined.
Yeah, that was the whole police department.
So when you guys were there, and you have the upstairs of the jail, basically the Pensacola Police Department was transporting these people too? How would that work?
Well,
Okay.
Pensacola police would arrest a person, and they would take them to the Pensacola Police Department,
Right.
where they would be booked down there, and then they would be held at that jail before they went to court. For
Yeah.
first
So
appearance.
you guys were literally transporting them back and forth to court to that jail.
Yeah. Now, by the time I got there in '86, it was already done. In fact, the first day at work at the Pensacola Police Department, I thought I would be out catching bad guys, and they sent me upstairs. I was dividing shell casings from 38 to 9mm. Back then we had people who were carrying different weapons, those two caliber weapons, and so my whole day was upstairs in the midst of this what used to be jail cells. Now they were cut off. But you can still see pieces of the jails, that were there. So that's what I was doing for the first couple of days of my career.
So I wanted to ask you that because people are always curious. People always want to talk about gear and equipment. When you started at the Pensacola Police Department, what did they give you? Like, what were you issued?
I was issued a .38 Smith & Wesson revolver. And I actually had one because when I worked at corrections, I had my father's. My father allowed me to use his, and you do have to qualify in corrections school as well, because when you have to transport and you have to do a number of things that require you to be armed. But the Pensacola Police Department, we had half the department, the agency were using a .38, and the other half was using this brand new H&K 9mm. And so, if you've been there a while, you got issued a 9mm, and I had to wait my time before I finally got my P7 M8 H&K 9mm.
So you had the revolver. I mean, you had
revolver,
what we think of beat officer, police academy kind of revolver.
That's me. And in the front of it, you had what they call speed loaders.
Right.
So you had two of those in the front. So you had 6 rounds in what they call wheel gun, and then you had two more speed loaders. So you had 18 total rounds on your belt.
So how long were you? I use the term patrol deputy, but patrol officer. But how long were you on the street before you go to narcotics or your next move?
What happens is when you're in patrol and you do what they consider to be a good job, you're active, you make good arrests, you do the good stuff, catch a lot of bad guys, and then they'll say, hey, do you want to go work in a plainclothes capacity? So I was only in patrol for a couple of years, by almost 3 years. And then they said, hey, you want to be on our tactical squad. Now, tactical squad is not undercover, but it's plain clothes. It's mostly for back then. We were having a lot of convenience store robberies and armed burglaries. We talk about the difference between now and then. We were having on a weekly basis. We were having people going in with shotguns, and they were robbing convenience store clerks, and that led to a lot of different reforms. Really, you couldn't have signs over. There's a lot. Over the glass windows at convenience stores. They had single clerks that were working on their own through a midnight shift. So because of all that, the Pensacola Police Department created a tactical unit. So we were just working plainclothes. I did that for almost a year, and then the evolution is then you become an investigator or a detective. And so I went to detectives, and within 8 months, they said, hey, we could use you in narcotics, working undercover. And to me, that was the holy grail of law enforcement. You're telling me that I can work undercover and small Pensacola, and I could be this undercover detective or narcotics officer.
That's what you see on TV.
It's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
it's exactly what happened. We were part of a number of different federal task forces, and where we investigated Jamaican drug dealers that were coming into Pensacola and Escambia County. So we had, I was a member of a Marshal Service task force and of DEA's task forces. So, it wasn't like Miami Vice. I'm not trying to say it was, but there were many hand-to-hand, deals that we were doing. We were flying down to South Florida to interview somebody or to identify somebody or do a search warrant that's connected to some of ours. So, very real undercover work was done. But I won't say that we lived in a fancy house, and we did drive different cars. We did seize cars, and we did drive those cars, whenever we needed to.
So, when you started, you have all these experienced guys, at PPD, at the Pensacola Police Department, who were the guys that you learned from, that you looked up from and realized, okay, this is the way to do it. This is the best way to essentially do the business of law enforcement?
Well, I think when you want to get in law enforcement, you do that because of it's action-packed job. It is an exciting job, and you can make a difference. So those two things kind of work together. And when you look at it, you see, hey, this guy's been there for a long time. But you quickly notice that that's not exactly the career path that I would go. I don't know that I want to be 60 years old and be a patrol deputy. I don't know that I want to be that. But this guy, however, this is a SWAT commander or a team leader. This is Norman Chapman. He's over a SWAT team. That would be kind of where I need to go. You first look at your senior guys, and then you look at your supervisors, sergeants and lieutenants, and so you learn a lot. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. You learn how not to do things, and you learn how to do things. And I think that's the same in any organization. You learn from the best, and you learn from the worst. That's typically where you're at.
Right. I mean, there's a mix always of people, and that's how it's always going to go. You got the people who always want to achieve. You got the people who are going by with what they do on their day to day, and it's always different. So when you were in narcotics, how many years did you spend in narcotics?
I spent 5 years in narcotics, and I got promoted to sergeant.